The decision to deliver 0.7% of our gross national income in aid is one of the things that I'm proudest of, because I so believe it is right, and I so believe that were we to come off it and cut our aid budget, it would be entirely counterproductive to Britain's interests and to people around the world. And there's something incredibly powerful about a country as big and as rich and as wealthy and successful as Britain sticking to a promise that we made. I think of the 67 million children that were vaccinated because of UK aid. I think of the 64 million people that got access to clean water. I think of the 11 million children around the world that we put through school. All the strongest arguments have always had this clear moral sense and duty at its heart of doing something for the poorest people in the poorest countries in the world. And when you think it is effectively 2 pence in every pound of tax paid that's going, is that really too much to ask? When President Obama turned to me and said, we have this crisis in West Africa with Ebola, America will take charge of helping in Liberia, can Britain do the same thing in Sierra Leone? I didn't have to pause and rush back to the cabinet or talk to the Chancellor or go to the Treasury. I knew we could do it. I knew that we had the dedicated nurses and doctors. I knew that we had the military. I knew that we had the volunteers, and I knew we had the money. I think sometimes we can underestimate the extent to which Britain's influence in the world is not a sort of nice to have. It's not some vainglorious aim. It is actually essential for our national security. British people live all over the world. British companies trade all over the world. It's in our interest that there is a rules-based world. It's in our interest that trade lanes are open. It's in our interest that other countries aren't fragile and broken. And so this idea of British power and British influence and a British ability to get things done is not some far-off dream. It's vital to our national interests today. Let me leave you with one statistic for any of the doubters out there about how important this agenda is going to be. In 1950, the population of the Middle East and Africa was about half the population of Europe. By the end of this century, the population of Africa and the Middle East will be over 4 times the population of Europe. So even if you are a skeptic about this, even if you worry about whether all of the aid is put to good use, if you want to actually have a successful continent on our doorstep, then it's absolutely essential we help these countries to be successes rather than failures. Thank you.